to the Liberty Podcast with Clint Armitage. We are proclaiming liberty one show at a time, and the next one starts right now. Hey, thanks for coming back. My name is Clint Armitage, and this is the Liberty Podcast. We are in a series right now called Signs of Judgment, and we're on part 7, and we're talking about Harbinger number 6. So if you've been listening to our past episodes, we've been reviewing a book by Jonathan Cahn that was published a few years ago entitled The Harbinger. There's 9 harbingers. Well, we're on Harbinger number 6, and it's about one sycamore tree and a lot of sycamore trees. Let's see what this excerpt has to say about Harbinger number 6. Listen in.
And the 6th harbinger. The sycamores are cut down. When the Assyrians invaded Israel, they brought destruction not only to the nation's buildings, but to its land. The fallen buildings spoke of the destruction in the cities, but the fallen sycamore epitomized the destruction of the land. And in America, on 9/11, in the last moments of destruction, the North Tower of the World Trade Center began to collapse. As it plummeted to the ground, it sent forth a metal beam into the air. The beam struck an object, a tree, growing in the soil at the corner of Ground Zero. The tree was a sycamore, as in the prophecy. It would be put on display and memorialized and known as the sycamore of Ground Zero, the 6th harbinger of the vow.
Okay, so we know what we're talking about here. They're talking about a sycamore tree and connecting it with the sycamore trees that were in the attack against Israel, the northern kingdom, when Assyria came in and attacked. Now, in the prophecy, that's what it says, that the sycamores fell. Well, so that refers to when the Assyrians came in, they totally wiped out the cities and the buildings and everything was just gone. Well, they also wiped out the trees, which were the sycamore trees, and those were all wiped out in the land as well. And so the land was totally destroyed. Well, what Cahn is trying to connect here is there was a sycamore tree as well that was at Ground Zero. Now, it's the sycamore tree of Ground Zero. It was at the corner a few blocks away from Ground Zero, but at the corner near St. Paul's Cathedral there. And actually, so what happened was, Cahn says that when the North Tower fell, a beam shot out from the wreckage, and this beam came and flew and hit the sycamore tree and destroyed the sycamore tree in front of St. Paul's Cathedral there. And it actually saved St. Paul's Cathedral from major damage. The tree died because it got whacked by this huge beam. Well, when the tree fell, that's the connection for 9/11 with the sycamores falling. Okay, so in northern Israel, the northern kingdom, when Assyria came in, they wiped out all the sycamore trees, just like the prophecy says. Well, at Ground Zero connecting 9/11 again, there was one sycamore tree that fell, and it was the one that saved St. Paul's Cathedral, known as the sycamore of Ground Zero. So some of the critics that say that, there wasn't too much specifically said about the sycamore portion. Now, there was a couple of websites that mentioned, hey, he's trying to match one sycamore tree against all the sycamore trees that were wiped out when Assyria conquered the northern kingdom. And so again, I have to say, okay, this isn't about trying to replace exactly what happened to the Israelites. It's more, this is the way I took it. When I read that and about the sycamore, that's an interesting coincidence. And what gets me the most about Rabbi Cahn here and all this stuff is he connects a lot of stuff. Now, some of the things I do feel that there is some reaching, but I gotta say, like these 9 harbingers are pretty interesting. And then he connects a whole bunch of other stuff as well. And you think like, wow, this guy like really was able to research and connect all these things. And to me, I don't think that's really necessary. Could it be humanly possible? Yeah. But I kind of think it's kind of a more of a divine thing where God kind of gives him areas to look and says, hey, check this out and see if there's a connection there. And then he digs it up and he finds it. And there's connections. Because there's a lot of connections. This just happens to be one of the main ones, which is one of the 9 harbingers. And for me, just because it's one sycamore tree, it doesn't, again, I'm not taking this as replacing what God said to the Israelites back in the Old Testament and what Isaiah prophesied. What I'm taking it as is, wow, there's an interesting pattern growing here. And the pattern is, hey, Israel didn't repent and they got destroyed. America's not repenting. Are we going to get destroyed as a country? And even though we don't have a direct covenant with God, like God made a covenant with Israel, and God did not directly make a covenant with America, but America, I believe, made a covenant with God, right? We founded our country on the precepts of God and the Bible. And so even though God may not have made a covenant with us, I also believe he honors our covenant with him. And so again, there wasn't too much on the specific harbinger, because the only argument was, hey, he's talking about one sycamore tree and Israel lost all the sycamore trees in the land. And so again, not a very strong argument in my book. And as long as you take it as, hey, this is an interesting pattern that's happening here. Sycamores fell in Israel when judgment came. And then 9/11, even though it wasn't our first attack or first strike, it was something I believe God is trying to lead us to. I think he's trying to tell us something. And I think the author is trying to relay it in all these different things that he's getting, and then he's putting it out saying, hey, this is not just coincidence. It doesn't seem coincidental. There's more to it. And that's kind of where I stand on this, is I think there's more to all these things happening. This can't be all coincidence, because it's intriguing. You have to look at this and go, wait a minute, sycamores fall, like they did in Israel. The prophetic word gives it, Isaiah gives it, and then during the 9/11 attacks, a sycamore falls. And is it a connection? Well, there's another thing, another harbinger. So, I'm not really a big, some Christians are saying, hey, replacement theology, they're replacing America with Israel. No, I don't think that's happening here. I just think that these instances has to be more than just coincidental. And the message is correct. We have to repent as a nation. And repenting as a nation means individual believers repenting, or individuals repenting, and then a whole nation can turn and repent. Because once individuals repent, we as a nation start to repent. You see what I'm saying? Yeah, a whole nation can't repent in terms of that term, but individuals within a nation can repent, and then the whole nation can repent as all individuals repent. So, anyways, that's my take on the 6th harbinger. The sycamores have fallen. All right. My name is Clint Armitage. This is the Liberty Podcast. Thanks for stopping by, and we will see you next time. Until then, stay safe, stay motivated, and keep seeking liberty. Thanks for joining us for another episode of the Liberty Podcast with Clint Armitage. If you want to get in touch, email us at info@clintarmitage.com.